Hello, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Wise Content Creates Wealth. You've heard that content is king. Well, wise content rules the world. This podcast is about understanding how you can make and utilize wise content to improve your financial success and your business's bottom line. I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, and I am a marketing technology expert who's built a multi-million-dollar company, and I'm also an award-winning content producer. My company is Galileo Tech Media, a leader in providing wise content, which is content that incorporates search science, behavioral science, artificial intelligence, data, and process to make content that converts better and gets better rankings. We also provide smart SEO services, which combines technology, digital PR, and wise content to get organic traffic for a website and convert that traffic into sales and leads. Read more about us at galileotechmedia.com and sign up for our informative newsletter that will let you know more about our upcoming episodes and webinars. Our agenda today is cutting production time and creating blog posts with AI. But first, I'm going to do some little bit of news. So on May 20th of this year, 2021, I am leading a webinar called Coming Out of Quarantine, Jumpstart Your Travel SEO. It's focused on travel, but we'll have many points that could be for any kind of industry. You can register at galileotechmedia.com/webinars and search for Coming Out of Quarantine, Jumpstart Your Travel SEO. You know, COVID-19 has changed the way in which the world works. And like every industry, marketing has found itself in turmoil. As consumer primaries and behaviors dramatically altered, marketing strategies naturally had to fall in line by the wayside, and content marketing, SEO, is no different. And some of the things that we recommend when you're getting ready to jumpstart your SEO is to remember the basic fundamentals of content and content marketing and SEO. One is you've got to provide content of real value. People know if you're just providing pure self-serving content that's just written for the purpose of clinching their purchase. You need to give them real value. Empathy and authenticity to earn trust is also important, especially in a time of crisis. Honest and human-centric messaging fosters a sense of community and can only improve and strengthen your customer relations. And then understand the importance of flexibility. In this, especially in a global crisis, it's crucial to have agility and flexibility, because your marketing plan few months ago or even a year ago has been out the window. Consumers' behaviors have changed. I was just seeing a presentation from Bright Edge talking about, you know, search the COVID search, what happened to the search terms and search and whole sectors of the industry in terms of search happened, and dramatic differences in search. And now that it's coming back, surprising things are coming back in search volume, while things that were working before COVID are still not there, might not even recover. So you got to be flexible and understand the market as it is now. So again, that's a webinar. I will be going into more details about a lot of things to do to get ready to jumpstart your SEO in the post-COVID world. And you can go to galileotechmedia.com/webinars. Another little bit of news is Google released their web spam report, and they saw a 60% increase in spam detection in their 2020. It detected over 40 billion pages of spam every day, and that's up from 25 billion in 2019. So it's incredibly increased their ability to do that. You can go to the developers.google.com search blog to understand it and read about it. But what they did is they used a lot more artificial intelligence, and that's why I brought this up. And Google has actually accredited advancements in AI and helping understand what content is spam and what is not spam. So the understanding of content, we're at the cusp and the beginning of this huge industry of AI and content. and Google's demonstrating it in things like spam detection. Something else Google just announced, and this is great for small business owners especially, is that now in Search Console, you can actually report indexing issues with your site. You see pages that are not being indexed and you don't know why, or or things that are being indexed that shouldn't be indexed, but you can't figure out how to prevent it because it seems like it should be prevented. Well, now you can go into Google Search Console, and you will see, it should start this week, a report and indexing issue under the index coverage report and the URL inspection tool. They're going to test it for you a few weeks. It might disappear if people are not using it or it's not working very well or overusing it, but they're doing a test run in the United States right now. And they want you to first try to fix things like go look at your robots tag in your files and the robots.txt file and other things. But if you can't figure it out, you'll go there and then they will actually guide you through things that the troubleshooting. And then if you finally can't figure it out, it will report them and then they will follow up. So I think this is a great time, and great new tools, and content is being understood by AI in a much better, and I think in a dramatically increasing way. And one of our guests today has jumped in that game and has created a tool that I think is very useful in helping people increase their productivity when creating blog posts. I want you to meet Andy Metellus. Andy believes you should never let your fears keep you from fulfilling your purpose and living your dreams. That's why he co-founded Brainwork to help digital marketing agencies take back their time, make more money, and grow their business. He is also a father, a husband, a coder, a blogger, and a musician. He loves solving problems and creating the coolest things imaginable. Hello, Andy.
Hey, how you doing?
You told me how to pronounce your first name. How do you pronounce your last name? Make sure I got that right.
Metellus.
Metellus. Okay, cool. All right. So we were just talking. You live in Florida, and it's nice and warm there, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. It feels like about 90 degrees right now.
Yeah.
Orlando, Florida, not too far away from Disney.
Cool. And does Florida have a really vibrant tech startup scene?
I guess, as I say, before COVID, it was pretty good. And then with COVID, things kind of I think it slowed down a little bit. But it's slowly progressing. Slowly progressing.
Do you have like startup incubators and things like that?
Yeah, we do have one. We do have one startup incubator here in downtown Orlando. It's pretty vibrant, and they do a lot of good work there.
All right. So, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. It looks like you started out your career, your computer career in information systems side of tech, but then you migrated to be a software company founder. How did that path happen for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So back in 2017, it was actually I would say 4 years ago next month. It was a normal Friday afternoon like today. And I got a phone call from my boss, and they told me that, as our company merged with a different company, and my position got terminated. So my wife was pregnant at the time, about 2 months away from our first child, and I lost my job. So it was real trying times. And at the time, I had had 2 choices: to pursue my dreams and becoming a tech entrepreneur, or go back into the corporate world and get another job. And so at the time, I decided, there's no better time than the present. So I decided to not pursue the corporate world and founded my first startup, was my consulting firm, which was Dynamic Apps. So so I started at that point, and here we are today.
And Dynamic Apps is still a running business?
Yeah. So at the time, I was doing mobile software development, mainly iOS apps, and also in consulting as well. And I did that, and I'm still doing that now, but mainly consulting, and not so much development as far as in that side.
Cool. And where did you get your artificial intelligence experience?
It was, I would say, by necessity. So going back, so when we started Brainwork about 1.5 years ago, we had a nice functional team, and me and my co-founder Michelle were bootstrapping the business, And at the time, as I had a high level understanding of AI, but I wasn't really deep into it. But when COVID hit and that impacted our fund, I guess tremendously, I had to really dig deep and start learning AI through taking online courses, you're watching videos, and then reading tons and tons and tons of blog posts and reaching out to people that I thought I was on big in AI on Twitter, and I reach out to them, talk to them, and just learn. And I'm still learning a lot today. So it's an ongoing process for me because I didn't start in AI, but I'm in it deep now because it was out of necessity. This is core of our product. And at the time, we had an AI engineer on our team who had a PhD in machine learning, but due to our funding issues, we had to let him go. So so I had to take the place of him and kind of take part and get that part going.
So trial by fire, you had to learn or sink or swim, basically, right? Oh wow!
Yeah, every day trial by fire.
I've been there. So what I know that we were talking earlier, and you were classically trained piano. Do you think that or anything else in your background has contributed to where you are now?
I'm not scared to try new things. I like to create. I like to create music. I like to create software. But even now, even like if I'm not creating, brainwork software, and I'm always coding new things. I'll create like a cool new app for myself or for my kids, for my wife. I like to create things and try different things, learn new technology, and better ways of doing things. I like to be creative, overall. So that's my thing.
Yeah, my background is programming, and one of the things that I always maintained that it's an art form unto itself. You can look at people's code, and you can actually get an idea of how their mind thinks.
Yeah.
And when I studied art, they say when you look at somebody's line, you can see the emotion or what they were thinking about when they wrote that line. And I always made it a comparison of that to programming, right? Is that you can actually see, in some cases, the personality, the way somebody thinks, whether they're extremely logical or emotional. I think that there's a whole reading of code that can be done more than just in a sort of cut and dried way.
Yeah, definitely. I guess for the first 10 years of my career in the tech field, as I was doing like database management, I was an FSA, and I was systems analyst, and I was doing a lot of data work. Not until I got into programming itself, I decided, what, I'm never going back to like that type of work. I love developing, I love coding, I like creating new things, and I got tired of seeing spreadsheets all day.
That's the thing. People either really love systems or they really love programming. Usually, it doesn't. Somebody doesn't love both. So anyway, we'll come back. We'll get into brain work. Okay.
All right.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Wise Content Creates Wealth. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2. They say content is king. Well, wise content rules the world. Every episode features tools and tips for content marketing and business people telling the wise content stories of that success. Tune in every Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hi, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast with my guest, Andy Metellus. So Andy, one of the things I wanted to ask you, your name actually is spelled with an H. How did you get that name? I don't think I've seen it before.
I'm Haitian, so in Creole the H can sometimes be silent.
I see. All right, cool.
Yeah, so that's what
It's a unique name. Yes. Cool. So you got a startup. It's about 1.5 years old now, called Bramework, BRAMEWORK. So why did you create this company?
Good question. So about 1.5 years ago, me and my wife, we had a dilemma. So we own, I guess, a handful of blog sites and their niche sites, and the dilemma was that we couldn't afford to pay to create quality content for all our websites because it was getting very expensive. And also, we didn't have the time to create the content. We had kids and things like that. So, being a developer, I asked myself, I was like, can I create something that can create some content or give me a good head start on content, and that can cut the process of creating a blog post, at least in half. And so, if it was taking me 4 hours to create a blog post, can I cut it down to 2 hours? Or maybe 1 hour. So at the same time, I was working on a different project where I was actually talking to a lot of bloggers, influencers, and digital marketers. And one of the issues they were having was the same problem I was having as well. So I was like, So I reached out to my co-founder and friend Michelle, and I was like, hey, I have an idea to create a product that can not only help me, but also help other people. And she said, hey, she was having the same problem, as well. So we decided to, take that idea, that concept, and also a framework that me and my wife used to use for our websites to create our blog posts. And that's where the name Bramework came from, which is a combination of blog and framework.
All right. That's clever. All right, cool. So I think at first, I saw one of your early videos, you really didn't generate the content body of the text to begin with, did you? You just started with, getting keyword research and suggesting titles and questions and things like that. So that was the start?
Yeah, so basically we released the product in 3 different phases. First, we created our keyword analyzer because I believe that keyword research is the first thing you should do when you're creating a blog post. You need to make sure that people are searching for the term you're looking for. If people are not searching for a term, then it may not be a good idea to write about it. So we created that functionality first, and then the next phase, we created a tool that suggested titles. And if you put a blog post in the tool, it would format it for you. So it would add your H1s, your H2s. It would make sure your paragraphs weren't too long, so you're not having like 10 paragraph sentences. So it did that. And the reason why we released that part of that tool first, because we were still, working on the AI part, because we were learning, doing trial and error. And as I said before, at the time, we had the AI scientists on board, but we had to let them go, and I had to take over the machine learning type work. So I was hiring consultants to kind of help me refine the work and learn about the, building the right models and training the models correctly and all that good stuff. So, so we released the product in 3 phases. So the first one we released March 2020, and then we released a version in July 2020, and then we released the AI tool in September of 2020.
Cool. And where do you get your I mean, getting all that data sources? Are you pulling it from Google, or are you pulling it from where are you pulling your data from?
Is what we do is we use different APIs from sources like SEMrush and things like that. So we use for keyword analysis and other sources. As far as the content, is we go out and we pick special content that we, based on the keywords that our users were searching for. So we kind of figure out, okay, we want content in this industry or in that industry and that industry, and it has to pass a certain check. So it has to be formatted a certain way, and it has to answer certain questions for the users. So then we use that content to train our models, so that way it can generate a unique content. And also what our tool does on the back end, it runs it through Copyscape to make sure that the content's unique and is not being plagiarized. So it's just like, a person like reading a book and then and writing it in their own words, basically.
So so you're not using any framework like OpenAI or anything that you developed your own?
So we're using the GPT-2 OpenAI open source model, but we're using that, and also we're training our own content on it. And in addition to that, we have our own algorithm that goes through and validate the content and does other things to the content to make sure that the content is unique and makes sense and flows correctly. So so the OpenAI open source code does about 50% of the work, and then we have our own, I'll say, a proprietary code that does the other 50% of the work.
Cool.
So
Who do you consider your primary customer?
I would say the small digital marketing agencies. So usually 2 to 5 employees are the ones that typically would hire out. They would outsource the content, so they would hire people to write the content for them, and then they would write it for the customer. So usually it's digital marketing agencies that's 2 to 5 employees large. But we are seeing a lot of like solo bloggers using the platform as well. But our target market is the small digital marketing agencies.
Cool. How many agencies you got on board now?
I'll say over 500.
Really? Wow. Good job. Yeah. So so how would you claim that Brainwork helps create blog posts in half the time? So tell us about that.
So half the time, so usually when you create a blog post, you got to start with the keyword research, and that takes time. Creating a title, that takes time. Is writing the post, that takes time, and then formatting the post, more time, and then adding images in the right places and all that. So what Brainwork does is it automated all those processes. So you go into Brainwork and you add your primary keyword, and then Brainwork will give you all the semantic keywords that you may want to add to your article. So then it'll generate the post for you. It'll suggest the title for you. It also has suggested images that you can add to the article. So like I said, let's say like all those steps I said before would take about 4 hours. Brainwork would cut that in half. Now, the article is generated is not the end all be all, so it's not the final product. You still have to add your own personality, style, and things like that connects to your users, since we don't know your personality and all the nuances that you use. But what we do is I would give you like an initial first draft, you could say, because it's one of the big problems that I had, because I'm not a natural writer. So I would think of I would do my keyword research, and I'll be ready to write an article, and I'll sit in front of Google Drive, or not Google Drive, but a Google Docs, and I'll sit there trying to figure out the way to start my article, because I didn't know, because I'm not a natural writer. And even in our blogs, my wife was the writer, and I was doing all the technical work, all the technical SEO work. And Framework was able to give me, that the framework of the article, like the core information, and then I would just add my own spin to it, add my own links, my own call to actions, things like that.
Cool. So can what is the topic universe? Can you create a blog post on any topic?
Right now our core industries are business, so healthcare, we got like home improvement services, real estate, digital marketing, and travels. So those are the core industries that we cover. And so we have tons of sub niches within those industries. And and we're constantly adding more and more industries. So as we see more people search things on our platform that they don't find, we go back and we add those models and add those industries. But right now we have those 7 main industries that we cover.
So somebody goes in and they will pick the industry. All right. I was looking, what do you consider, what industry do you consider travel? Is that recreation?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
All
right.
Like a travel, travel we cover from things from like international, U.S. travel, hotels, restaurants. It's a myriad of of things. So yeah.
Cool. You know that a lot of brands right now in the hotel space are now realizing, especially the big brands, are going to have to write a lot of destination specific content, right? And so that is going to be a much bigger area of content need in this already, and it's going to get bigger because finding that they get a lot of the search results from people searching for things to do, and the destination needs to have things to do. So they're not necessarily looking for a specific hotel. They're looking for things in an area or just, things to do. All right. So when we come back, we'll continue finding out more about your product. All right.
All right.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant. And on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you interested in having a better relationship with yourself, others, and God? Greetings. I'm your host, Dr. George Andow, for the show, A Journey Through into Awareness. On my show, we journey into the awareness that the mind of God is the true seat of our personal consciousness. We join together each Monday at 7 p.m., so tune in on Talk Radio NYC.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. battles mental illness? Hi, my name is Albert Daba. I'm the host of the show Extra Innings. Extra Innings, I discuss the topics of wellness, mental health, and the experience of surviving multiple suicides within my family. Listen live every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern to Extra Innings for discussions with sports figures, artists, mental health professionals, and many others. That's Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Graham Dobbin. Join me every Thursday evening for the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. We speak to people from business, sport, military, and politics, all around what makes a great leader. The personal experiences of what's worked and, maybe more importantly, what hasn't worked. So that's 7 o'clock every Thursday evening, the Mind Behind Leadership here on talkradio.nyc. Listen to real stories of real leaders.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hi, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast and my guest, Andy Metellus. So Andy, you talk about blog posts, but can brainwork be used to create other types of content?
Currently right now, we're just focused on blog posts, but in the future, I would like to tackle creating content for social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, be able to take the content that you create and then repurpose it on the platform and push it out to all these different platforms. So that's one thing that's in the works.
Cool. Now I noticed on your site, you talked about creating lead magnets. What does that mean?
Well, basically, is I always say that a blog post is a lead magnet, or if you have an opt-in, you can basically take the content that you generate on Brainwork and turn it into an opt-in, by adding different information on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean by by lead magnet. Because basically, are you creating blog posts to sell a product, to get an email address, and also to convert leads? And the way you're doing that is by building trust and by writing the content. So that's where that comes from.
Now, do you, in your AI generation of content, do you have any consideration for how you drive conversions?
As far as,
well, the language itself that you're putting into the blog post, or do you make suggestions on how to drive them to sign up for a newsletter, or to bring to some journey that might take them to another. I don't know. I'm just asking if you had any questions like that.
Yeah. So as far as one of the things that we wanted, that we're going to be working on as well is be able to take, take the readers, for example, if you already have a blog already, and you write, certain way, a certain style, and you convert your customers, a certain way, a certain style, but we want to be able to, pull in that information, pull in those styles. That way the tool can write content the way you write.
I see.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we'll be working on in the future as well. So that way so meaning there will be less editing for you, once the content's generated, and it's more personalized. Mm-hmm.
Now, you said your clients are agencies. Do you do white label versions of your tool?
Not yet. We've had many people asked that question. Not quite yet. We thought about doing like a gray label, but we're still perfecting the technology, and we're always iterating and improving. So right now we're keeping it in-house, and as time goes on, we may consider white labeling it, but not quite yet. But
the reason I ask is, agencies like mine, a number of them I know always feel like they have the secret sauce of, what to do to a blog post to make it better. Like we found some academic research on travel, right? And so we have a little process and spreadsheet about how to make travel content more engaging, more emotional, things like that, right? So, we've been thinking about, working with a platformed and then adding our little special sauce on it. So, I'm sure there's other agencies out there that have that vision too, right? Because we all think that we got some sort of genius, right?
and I've been talking, and from and I'll say like once a month, like someone will bring that to my attention, and it's something that we've been exploring. I guess we got to figure out a way to do that and also keep our business going as well. But at the same time, find other ways to monetize the technology as well. So.
Yeah. So you talk about SEO quite a bit on your site, and I know you do the keywords. How else do you help SEO?
Of course, I get make sure the title is compelling. As far as the CTR rate, make sure it's not too short, it's not too long. We have an SEO analyzer tool that works similar to Yoast, which is like the WordPress plugin. It checks your make sure that you have semantic keywords in your article. It gives you like an average of the word count, of course, compared to other word count that's on Google. Make sure that your paragraphs are not too long, not too short, and a myriad of other things that Yoast does. We do the same thing on the platform as well to kind of speed up the process.
So you have a WordPress plugin, right? So so does your WordPress plugin play nice with Yoast?
Actually, we don't have a WordPress plugin, so that's one of the things that.
Oh, I thought I read that. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So we integrate with WordPress, where you can push your article from Brainwork to.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Through XML, but it's not is not through a plugin, but that's something that I will be working on, because I like sometimes, you know, when WordPress does an update, it kind of messes up like the API. You're sending information from one to another. So one thing we're going to be releasing soon is a WordPress plugin that works, you know, right for WordPress, so we don't have any issues.
That's going to be you know, it's a challenge always to do content into a WordPress WordPress, because, you know, there's so many themes have their own editors now, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do the right short codes and everything else, it just sort of bombs when you inject content in there. So that's going to be a nice challenge for you.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, when they write their blog posts, like, never write it and the theme builders thing, always write it in native WordPress, because let's say you have 500 blog posts on your website, and then you change your theme. If you're writing blog posts and the theme's template layout or whatnot, you're gonna have to change all those blog posts. So I always write all my blog posts in WordPress, you know, native editor or whatnot, and only edit, like, you know, like the main pages, like, you know, like my home page, my pricing page, feature page, and the blog post builder. Because I learned that years and years ago, that could be a headache, you know, when you have a large, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a headache.
So I see you've been doing a little bit of SEO for your own website. So you must be eating your own pudding. You got a little bit of success for some good keywords. Are you generating your own content with your tool?
Yes. Yeah. So initially, we had, you know, before the AI content creator tool was, we created we had writers on board, and we still have writers on board, and they use our tool to create our content as well. And I've also been using the tool for my other websites, because initially, like I said, the tool was created to help me, you know, create content on all my other websites. So I've been using it for that as well, and also been using it to create content for LinkedIn, LinkedIn native articles. So
cool. So are you so the interesting thing to me is, you know, scaling, right? You know, last month before COVID really hit, we were doing 4,000 pieces of content a month for one big company, right? So scaling is the key for me. Is this going to be really, can this scale to doing hundreds of posts for your site at a cost-effective manner?
Right now, yes. You know, things change. You know, of course, you know, is, you know, resources, server, AWS, things like that. But yeah, definitely. And like I said, in the future, one of the things we're looking to do is be able to create content on tons of other platforms, and even be able to integrate, you know, into, like, you know, other CMSs, like Wix and things like that, where we can partner up with those companies, where if you build a website with them, you can choose to automatically generate content, you know, from that tool. So that's one of the things that we want to do in the future as well.
Cool. You mentioned a plagiarism checker, so you have something that checks it now. Is that a problem with machine generated content, that it might plagiarize stuff?
Yeah, because if the model is not trained, you know, sufficiently enough, or if it's trained not enough, or it's trained too much, it starts replicating what it's training on. So it starts writing the same thing you gave it. So which ultimately is plagiarism. So it's a trial and error thing to figure out, you know, the sweet spot. You know, when you're training this model, you know, what's the sweet spot? So, and that's why the plagiarism check is important, and not only to make sure that there's no content out there on the internet that's being created, but if me and you are doing, you know, an article on travel on the same topic on Brainword, and I want to make sure that my content and your content is different. So if you're doing you know, an article on Magic Kingdom in July, for example, I just want to make sure that those two articles are written differently, but talking about the same thing. So it's internal and external plagiarism.
I see. All right, cool. You know, the bane of my existence, I got a lot of old blogs, right? And, you know, back in the day, you didn't really check your images to make sure they were licensed. And, you know, you get those messages from Getty Images. Well, you better pay for this license, and or it's gonna be $1,000 or something like that. So, Yeah, you don't want to get those anymore. So you careful in terms of where your stock photos come from. Where are you getting, or how do we know that your stock photos are not going to have that sort of Getty image coming after you?
So we get our all our images from Unsplash, which is public, is is royalty free and copyright free images. So those images come from there, so you don't have to worry about that. And also, even on our platform, you can click on the image and it'll link you back to Unsplash, to where the image come from, so you can double check to make sure that the image is not something that you shouldn't have.
Okay, cool. And then you use some sort of AI, or is it just simple keyword to relate the images to the content?
Currently, just keywords. So we kind of like break up the keywords into different segments and figure out which keyword ranks higher, and then we kind of correlate that with the image that's found to make sure that we get you the best images possible. So we'll give you like 2-3 pages of different images, and you can select from those images. But again, in the future, we like to automatically put the image there for you, so you don't have to select the images. It'll already be there for you. So once the post is generated, you'll have the header image. We also, and one thing also we do is add the meta information for the images for you as well. So that's AI generated. So we add the meta information for the images for you, as well. So you don't have to add the alt text and description and all that. So that's already added for you then, and you can go back and edit it if you like as well. But we actually add those for you to kind of save you time, because ultimately our goal is to save you time and save you money.
Well, that's the promise that you put well on high on your website. Okay, when we come back, we'll finish up with just a little bit more about the future of what you're doing and some shout outs. All right.
All right.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law business law attorney and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Howdy, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hi, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Wise Content Creates Wealth podcast, and my guest, Andy Metellus from Brainwork, the co-founder, which has got this beautiful content, AI-based content blog generation tool. I would say it's a very, the very epitome of Wise content tool. When we do SEO, we're concerned about schema nowadays, right? Data, and especially the schema that actually establishes that this particular content is talking about some other content that's the authority on the thing, like maybe a Wikipedia page that tells that this cougar we're describing is the car, not the cat, right? Are you analyzing content and starting to look at generating schema or recommending schema, things like that?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we're looking to do. We're always looking to improve, and in addition to that, provide our users reference to the content that's being generated. Even though like the content's unique, it is being learned from somewhere. So users want to get that reference, and of course, making sure that we provide more context. We make sure that the content connects to your readers more. So when you onboard on our platform, we link to your website so you can see the content that you've already written. So the content that's written is written in the same way that you write. So it connects more to the readers and seem more authentic. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing as well. All that to our machine learning and AI algorithms.
Cool. So is a Brainwork a federal portable?
Yes, it's very affordable. It's our basics plan. It's $29 a month for 10 articles. And one of the features that we do have on our platform is if you generate a piece of content and you don't like it, you can rewrite it for free.
Okay.
You can keep rewriting until you find an article that you like. And in addition to that, each article that you create, we give you like multiple versions of that article. So you have up to 5 different versions of that article. So you can kind of take one article and combine it with a different article, or you can, and typically our articles are around I'll say about 700 to 900 words. So you can take, like version 1 and version 2 and combine them to make them a longer article. So if you want to create a long form piece of content, so we give you a different varieties. So you have more things to choose from.
Cool. So you now that you've been doing this for a couple of years, you're in the space. What have you seen out there in terms of other AI tools for content that you like?
And I know one that's been in the industry for a while is Article Forge. I know they've been in the industry for a while. I know Market Muse is it's big in the space, and they're working on, I think, a content generation tool. And with GPT-3 being released, like a lot of people are getting into space, is the only thing with GPT-3 is that you can't really train it on and fine tune it the way you need to, since OpenAI controls the platform. So that's why we use GPT-2, so we can actually take GPT-2 and manipulate it to make it more focused on a particular topic, so we can write content as best as possible on that topic, so it won't be as generalized. So and also in the last, like from the time that we started Brainwork, which was July of 2019, we've seen a lot of people come into space.
Yeah, it's an exploding space. That's why I created this podcast. Is while I necessarily can't be at this point be the player in it, I can be a commentator on it and grab the wise man position.
Yeah, definitely.
Believe it or not, I have my degree in computer science from Duke back in the 80s was in artificial intelligence.
Oh, wow.
So I'm coming full circle here. So what is the future of Brainwork?
The future of Brainwork is to be in tens of thousands of digital marketers' hands. Also, I'll say integrating into more platforms. So not only having our platforms, but integrating into things like WordPress and other platforms, and really tackling content for all social media platforms. And so that's one of the things that we'll be working on, to be able to create content, not just content, but quality content for all media platforms.
Cool. So when what do you have any, what put on your prognosticator's hat? I'll have to learn how to say that word more efficiently. And tell me, what's the next thing that's going to happen in AI?
It's like there's
There's so much, right?
There's so many things right now. I would say more because right now I think you could tell, that's something that's written by a human being versus AI. But I would say in the next 2 to 3 years, it's gonna be hard to tell the difference. It's gonna be very, very hard to tell the difference. Because with all these technologies coming out, and like you said, you see in the last a year and a half how fast like the industry has grown. I think you can imagine, you imagine by 2023, what things are gonna be.
Yeah.
So
Right now, it's like Bitcoin was about 4 or 5 years ago. People were talking about it, had some initial success, people were making money, but then 5 or 6 years from now, people are going to be making IPOs.
So imagine the website, imagine you go to WordPress and you just tell WordPress, I want my website to be about A, B, C, and D, and your landing page is created with content, and your blog page is created with content, and your first 10 blog posts is already ready for you to publish your website. Imagine that.
Boom. Yes, I know. It'll be incredible.
Yeah, imagine that. So that's where I see it heading.
All right. So finish up. You got any shout outs? Anything that you want to, where people can get hold of you or check you out?
Yeah. So you can check me out at, you can check out the product at brainwork.com, and you can email me anytime, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Handy Metellus is that very unique name, so you can't not miss me on LinkedIn. And my email is at brainwork.com. If you have any questions and have a tip, want to do any partnerships, feel free to send me an email. Oh, and also you can find me on Twitter at Brainwork, as well, on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook.
There you go. Got it all covered. Well, thank you for joining us this week. I look forward to seeing the growth of your company, and there might be opportunities to do work with you.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you again.
So as mentioned, my company is Galileo Tech Media, and we help those in charge of marketing campaigns who need to know what tactics will best persuade prospects to buy or take a course of action. And hard data as part of a wise content plan helps illuminate and substantiate key decisions revolving around content. So we help companies make better organic connections with their customers. You can find more about us at galileotechmedia.com. And you can go to galileotechmedia.com/webinars to find out more about our upcoming webinars. You can find out more about this podcast at facebook.com/wise content creates wealth, where the Zoom feed streams live. Or you can go to wisecontentcreateswealth.com and see all the previous episodes and sign up for a newsletter specific to Wise Content, as well as finding out more information that might be relevant to you. We are a part of the talkradio.nyc network, which is a podcast network that has live shows, multiple of them all week long. Right after, I guess, or before this podcast, one is called The Entrepreneurial Web by Jeremiah Fox. I recommend that you jump on and see that. This podcast is every week from on Fridays from 1 to 2, and we'll have another great show next week. You can. I also have another podcast on the network called Gateway to the Smokies podcast, and that's on Tuesdays from 6 to 7. I own, I preach my own pudding in terms of, being in the travel space. So I actually got a resort property in the mountains called the Meadowlarkmotel.com. But anyway, I hope to see you next week here again on Friday from 1 to 2, where we'll have another great podcast episode on wise content. Thank you.